I don't need no intro. Let's get into this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't need an intro to talk about this. I wanna just express how I feel and speak to this issue of why does it appear that some black people, not all, of course I put the title in there so y'all can get to watching this and be intrigued, but it's really why some black people, it feels like most black people despise me. Why do they despise B. Tatum? Now let me talk to you about this real quick because people may not understand my story. I was not always a conservative. I didn't always think like I think now. When I was growing up, I grew up in a all black neighborhood. Sometimes we lived in other neighborhoods that wasn't all black, but for the most part, I grew up in an all black neighborhood. My whole family is black, and we did everything together, just like any other black family would do. And none of my family members were wealthy. None of them had money. Most of my family were either barely in the middle class or completely poor. Roaches in the house, smoking crack, going to prison on one side of my family, and the other side of my family, hardworking, right around the middle class or lower than middle class America. So I grew up with a different perspective. I grew up thinking that the police were bad. I grew up thinking that, everything was about race and white people hated us. And you came in, you don't mess with them white folks. I grew up with my family, calling people crackers and stuff. And so that's how I grew up. And things begin to change when I left an environment where that was all I knew was how black people saw the presidency, how black people saw the police, how black people saw politics, how black people saw money, America, capitalism. This is when I left that, and I had access to meeting other people in the world and seeing what other groups of people or people from different backgrounds, how they saw the world and really how they interacted with black folks. And when I went to college, I went to the University of Arizona, I found out that white people really wasn't tripping on black people like I was growing up thinking. I thought that if you ever get around a concentrated area of white people, if you're a black man on a campus playing sports, people are gonna treat you differently in a negative way, as if you don't belong. Like you see in the movies where the black kids are walking around, 3 or 4 of them, and the white kids are just mugging them and looking at them like you don't belong here. That was not at all what I experienced. I mean, to be honest, being black on campus as an athlete had more privileges than white people had. I mean, people loved you. The professors loved athletes. They treated us like kings. They would give us grades that we didn't deserve. I'm going to be honest with you. We used to get, they wasn't failing no football players. There's a teacher that got in trouble for doing that. He used to give everybody a B or A or whatever, and you didn't have to do no work. I remember my science teacher, he would give you an honest grade, but he used to always call me out. Every time we would come to class on Monday, he'll be like, hey, y'all had played a good game. And it's a lecture hall with 100, 200 students in there. He'd point me out. Y'all had a great game. I love you guys. He used to ask me questions, let me answer the questions in class. He used to always pick me when I raised my hand. It was a whole nother world that I was experiencing. And racism was completely dismantled in my exposure and experience. However, I still wasn't convinced when I was in college that this country wasn't a racist country and that white people have done all these atrocities towards black people. But then I studied in college, I studied Africana studies. So in that, I learned of all the black people who were highly successful over the years. I mean, from the 1800s, 1900s, I mean, you can go back to the 1700s. Black people who were inventing and successful. I learned about slavery, and it really started to open my mind is that they didn't teach us this in high school. They stayed away from these subjects. How did black people own slaves? I thought it was only white people. Why is there not that many white people that own slaves? It was rare even in legal slave states. More free blacks lived in the slave states than lived in the free states. All of these things that I learned really, really woke me up. And I started really thinking like, dang, I think I've been lied to this whole time. I think people have been really deceptive. And I've been really feeling like I live in a world of chaos and racism, and that's not even the case in real life. It's only speculatory in a community of people that only talk to each other. So then, once all of that happened, I had never dated a white girl a day in my. I'd never thought about dating outside of my race. It was, no way would you bring a white girl to the house, to the crib. That would never happen. When I went to the Dunbar High School, not one person ever considered dating a white person, except one guy, and he ended up committing suicide, unfortunately. He was bullied. I don't know if that's why he did it, but he ended up committing suicide because people used to bully him all the time over the fact that he dated a white girl. Now, he could have, done that over another reason. However, moving forward, I dated a white girl in college, and it was a eye-opening experience again for me, because I was like, well, wait a minute. She got both of her parents at home, and they're in a relationship. Like, this is I kind of like this. This is cool. My parents weren't together. Every woman I dated that was black, obviously between the time before I dated anybody that wasn't black, all of them didn't have mamas and daddies and whatever the case may be. That's not to say that every black person's life is like that. It's just that where I grew up in, the options that I had, these were the realities. And not every white person that got two parents or two parents that are good parents. But when I got exposed to something different, I said, you know what? I want a family like that. I realized that divorce and separated families and mixed families, that's not cool. I don't want that for my life. I want something better. I was able to see how functional, being around people were. And most of the white people that I was around, football players or not, they all had two-parent households. And it started to really open my mind to, like, there's something more to this. This that we've been taught and we've been experiencing is not reality. And then, I got saved, and really God changed my whole perspective on the way I saw people. It was no longer about black and white and all this stuff. It was about, we're all God's children. And the goal is to have a relationship with God and get saved. And if you're not saved, it's my opportunity to witness to you if you're open to it. And we're all a part of the same big family. We all came from Adam and Eve. So the delineations within our facial features or whatever the case may be, skin, melanin in our skin, are superficial. It's just formalities of what we would call a general sense of evolving as human beings. And then, I became a police officer and so on and so forth. And the police myth blew up in my face, because police officers weren't these radical racist white men running around looking for black people. It was like, no, there's more to this. I can't believe police officers do this every day. And then it made me start feeling slightly, upset and disappointed in other black people who didn't sign up to be police officers. Because I came with the thought process that, well, these men and women that I'm watching on the police department have to be the most courageous, brave people I've ever seen. And I'm like, why are all these white men so willing and ready and brave to support the community, and there's not a lot of black men doing this? It made me really wonder, like, why are the white men doing it and the black men are not doing this? Why is it that all the white men are patrolling in these black neighborhoods? And it's only 12 of us on the entire police department of 900 people. Where's all the other black people at? Where are the black men that are brave and want to serve enough to join law enforcement like I did? It was beyond disappointing to me. And even when I was on patrol, the white people were cool. I'm talking about the general population, not criminals, right? Criminals are criminals are criminals. They don't like you no matter what you are. But the general population responds to black people unprovoked. White people were always happy. Hey, thank you for your service. In general, There was some that wasn't. There was some that was on the black side. But in general, white people were generally respectful. You pull them over on a traffic stop. Generally speaking, okay, officer, yeah, I was wrong. Or even when they don't think that they were wrong, they're not arguing with you. They say, okay, all right, thank you. Have a nice day. Black people, even though I was at the time they were presented with me, a black police officer, most of them were rude. I had an attitude. It's always, you put me on for no reason. It's like, brother, you blew the red light in front of everybody. I didn't want to pull you over, but you made me pull you over. Why does it have to be about race? You pull over a white woman driving a car and a black dude in the passenger seat, he's arguing that we pulled them over because he black in the passenger seat. His white girlfriend was saying, stop, I'm wrong. My tag's expired. We know it. Like, stop arguing with them. I'm wrong. Like, I'm wrong. They pulled us over just because I'm black. They see a black man. And I'm not saying it was all black people, but it was more black people that did that than white people would do it. And these things begin to go in my mind, like, what is going on in our country? What is going on in the world? Why are all these lies being told? And this is not reality. Then political stuff hit me. I was a Democrat. Even with all this, I was a Democrat. Democrat for the people. And the Republicans are racist white people that's greedy and want money all the time. All they want is money. They don't want to pay taxes because they don't want to pay for the help the poor people. And then I start to slowly but surely realize that, I don't even know if that's true. Democrats were the ones that was the part of the Ku Klux, that pretty much had association with the Ku Klux Klan. They were the political arm of the Democratic Party, just like Black Lives Matter and Antifa are today. They're the political militant arm of the Democrat Party. The Democrats the ones supported slavery, Jim Crow. I mean, you go down the list and you're like, okay, with the history of the Democrat Party being the party of slavery and all of the negative elements that black people have experienced throughout the history of being in America were historically associated with the Democrats. The first black politicians were Republicans. So that should tell you right there, the first black politicians were Republicans and the Democrats were opposed to that. Then you go throughout history and you see Barack Obama bashing police officers just like they do today, and it just turned me off. And I said, let me look at the Republicans. And I went to look at the Republican ticket. I saw Ben Carson, one of the most amazing men to ever live, no matter what race he is, married to a black woman for umpteen years. One of the most brilliant black men that I ever met. I mean, brilliant men in general. And when you talk about black success, if you want to go there, he's one of the most successful black men to ever live. And I said, why is this man a Republican? The greatest man, he's a Republican. That's interesting. That's interesting. Because look at these dudes, these men running for as the Democrats, and look at the black men that were running for Republicans. Herman Cain, and then the only two I knew was Herman Cain and then Ben Carson. And then, the so on and so forth, Donald Trump took over, and Donald Trump, I went to one of his rallies with an open mind, and it blew me away that he wasn't nothing like they said he was. I mean, what turned me to Trump and what turned me to Republicans was the lies that the liberals were doing, the lies that that Democrats were telling. There's no Republican came to me and was like, let me convince you that the Republicans are the party for you. I never even met a Republican. And one reason is because the churches wouldn't have a Republican. They only let you see Democrats, so you only get exposed to one side. But, I saw the Republicans. No Republican came to me. It was the Democrats. It was Barack Obama that turned me off to the Democrat Party. And then the Democrats were saying Trump was a racist and all this other stuff. And they was really passionate about it. The media was saying he's a racist and throwing out black people out of his rallies for no reason. And we get there, and I get there, and I'm black, and everybody's friendly. But there was a black lady up at the top who got thrown out because she was a complete nut. She was screaming and disrespecting Trump the entire time. Screaming, yelling, being a tool, a complete tool bag. And that's why they throw you out. And they weren't the only one. They threw white people out too. All these people who were disruptive. It was a private event that Donald Trump paid for out of his own pocket. So if you are disorderly in the event, legally you could be asked to leave. And so they made people leave. This is myths that's blowing up in front of my eyes. The media was saying that Trump and the Trump racists, and I'm like, that was nowhere near what I experienced. The Trump speech was nowhere near hatred and racist. There were black people there. There were Hispanic people there. There was so many people at the Trump rally that was of different backgrounds, elderly people. It blew my mind. And the lie was unraveled. And I supported Trump. And then you go forward and you say, I started realizing that I had been lied to about everything. Growing up as a black man in America, I've been lied to about everything. Everything that I thought was good was actually bad. Rap music and these rap culture and gangster rap and stuff. I used to listen to Tupac and Biggie and Nas, and I mean Nas was less controversial, but they had their moments of talking about incredibly inappropriate and damaging things to the black community. And those were the good rappers. You know, Tupac and them, they had some lyrical excellence and poetic, music. So some of their stuff was telling stories, and it was good for the soul to a certain degree. But there were some things that they were talking about, violence and stuff like that. But you go, when I got a little older, I mean, I used to listen to 3 6 Mafia. You know, why are they called 3 6 Mafia? Obviously, they worship the devil. And I used to listen to them when they used to worship the devil. Yeah. Y'all go back and look at 3 6 Mafia. They had music before they ever became mainstream. They used to have music just worshiping the devil, talking about Ouija boards and all that stuff. All of these different rap groups, I used to listen to them all. Bone Thugs and Harmony. I mean, you can go down the list. Mystical. Who else I used to listen to that was pretty out there? EBK. I think his name is EBK. It's EBK every day, all day to the day I die. I'm creeping through your set with a Mini Mac 10 AR-15. Ruger with a 12-gauge pump in the trunk and the black beanie disguised that you can't see because of the black stilokes over my eyes. Crap, like a black cat through the Mac with a Mac 10 on my lap in the back. I remember that song. I used to, man. But EBK was talking about eating children and stuff like that. That's his name, He's talking about cannibalism and stuff. We used to listen to EBK. We used to listen to Too Short, and I mean all of these different dudes that were completely Dr. Dre and completely detrimental to the black community. And they were celebrities. They were celebrated. I mean, even Jay-Z celebrated. And then when I got grown and I got saved, I said, dang, that's really bad messaging. That's really bad energy getting put out there for young black men. I remember Hit 'Em Up from Tupac, first off, in the clique you claim, West Side, when we ride coming quick with game, you claim to be a player, but your wife, we on Bad Boy for Life. I can't, that's all cuss words. Hit 'Em Up was, doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom. I got my hood tattooed on my arms, my stomach. Like, that was a detrimental part of being black in America, that no other race experienced it like we do. I was also listening to Zero, all the chopped and screwed music, DJ Screw. I can go. I'll be forgetting some of these dudes' names, but we used to, DSR. If you from Dallas, you know who DSR is. Fat. You know what? Lil Ronnie. All them dudes, man. We used to listen to all this stuff. I used to smoke weed when I was 8, 7, 8, 9. I think I stopped when I was 8. But I used to smoke weed. Like, I can't believe that was occurring when I got grown. And I'm saying all this to say, 20 minutes later, the reason why black people are incredibly offended by the things that I say is not because I'm lying. And they know I'm not lying. Many of them. It's because if you have been told something and you are only exposed to this group think in this small area of influence, and you've never grew outside of that or thought outside of that or met people outside of that, you have such a small perspective of reality that when I say something, it bucks against who you are as a person and what you know to be true in the totality of your whole life. And I'm debunking it, and it don't feel good. And it makes you outraged. I used to be outraged at dudes like me before I became me. I used to be outraged. Oh man, you hate your own people. I used to say the same stuff. That's why it's so weird that, is it spiritual? Because why, without talking to other black people? And I used to think the same way other black people think. And it's gotta be a spiritual, demonic spirit that's on a lot of black people to be in such denial of truth that it makes them want to hurt you because you're telling the truth that they talk about with their friends and that black comedians, do comedic skits about, and that's cool. But when Brandon Tatum said, I hate my own people. When Lil Boosie goes on Vlad TV and talk about all the same stuff that I talk about, he cool. Oh man, Boosie be keeping it real. But when I say the same thing Boosie saying, I'm gonna sell out Uncle Tom Coon bootlicker. But that's what I want people to understand, is that's why it appears that I get so much hate from black people, is that you are dismantling everything that they know to be true. Everything that I used to believe was true is being unveiled to you in front of your eyes. Here's another scenario. It's like some of y'all who have parents that are divorced and that have been divorced, and to a certain degree, they play sides, right? I remember if my mama would have said anything about my daddy, and when I was a kid, I actually slapped my mama before when I was a kid. Don't judge me. I was a kid. I don't cognitively remember that. But my mama told me I slapped her because I thought she was trying to disrespect and say something crazy about my daddy. And so even if my daddy was wrong about something, if somebody said something bad about my daddy, it enraged me because somebody was talking bad about my daddy. And I didn't want nobody to talk bad about my daddy. Even if my daddy was wrong, it made me mad. Even if my mama was wrong, you can't talk about my mama, because then I get offended and I get mad even if my mama is wrong. I can talk about my mama. You can't talk about my mama. And that's the same concept that like the black community feel, is that we can talk about each other and what the struggles are amongst black people, but you can't put that out to the world. And in my defense, which I think people misrepresent, is that I just say what I feel. Wherever I feel like saying, I just say it. And lo and behold, 1.6 million people agree with or can associate with the things that I say. I don't got the white man, and I don't even know what color people are on my live stream. How do I know what color you are on YouTube? People don't even have pictures. Some people got pictures, they fake pictures. I don't know, I don't care. Thousands of people come through the comment section. I don't look at every one of them. I don't need to pitch something to white people. I mean, the thing is, people say that often, but like, what about the white people who are liberals? They hate me. I'm not my white audience of who? White people in general? Because there's probably half of this country hate me because I'm a Trump supporter, conservative. So the white people that you don't like are the ones that like me? Is that what you're saying? Because you're saying I'm throwing it out there like every white person just agrees what I'm saying is negative against black people. It's like, shut up. There's a lot of black people that follow me. A lot of black people that like me come up to me all the time, hit me in the DMs all the time, because I give them the same experience that other black people who woke up gave me. James T. Harris, one of the people that woke me up. I hated him when he was talking about Donald Trump. I mean, not Trump, but Barack Obama. Hated him. I said, man, this dude a sellout. While I was a cop. And then eventually I'm listening to James T. Harris every day. Conservative Circus every day. Because I'm like, dang, why was I? Here's the thing, y'all, and that's why I'm glad this is quasi alive, because it's 20-some, 30 minutes. Here's the thing. Is it a spiritual thing that's happening to people that's causing them to be in an increased state of hatred, in an increased state of denial? It has to be spiritual, because it's a spiritual chain that breaks. And when it breaks, you realize that, how did I ever think like that? When you were in it, it made perfect sense to call James T. Harris a sellout because he was bad-mouthing Barack Obama. Oh, he a sellout, man. A black man always trying to hold another black man down. When I broke free from that, it's like, dang, I'm completely in another world now. Of course he was talking. I go look up Barack Obama. Of course Barack Obama did these things. That's why James T. Harris was talking bad about him. Not because he hated his own people, because he's telling the truth. I started realizing, and a lot of people hate me because it hurts when that truth hits you, and your mama and them, your big mama, your cousin them, your round, whatever you want to call it, your kinfolk, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know what people call it. You know, your day ones, whatever you want to call it, man. I don't know what y'all call it wherever you from, but you know, we don't say round. You know, that's you in Louisiana if you say round, or Baton Rouge or something, or whatever. This is the dudes that I know from there. That's how they call they round. They homeboys. You know, whenever you look at it like that, they all wrong. They all are deceptive. Your pastor is all lying to you. And that's something that's really hard to perceptualize. My pastor was everything to me. Bishop Arthur Pierce was everything to me. He was the next thing to Jesus to me. It was Jesus, and then below Jesus was Bishop Arthur Pierce. I felt like he heard directly from God. He was the kindest man I know. He was the most balanced man I know, the most dedicated man I know. I mean, Bishop Arthur Pierce would forever, even if he disagreed with me today, he will forever have a place in my heart. He was one of the greatest men I ever met. To this day, he's one of my favorite people in the world. Now, I think he disagreed with me politically. But I remember when Bishop said after church one day, everybody wasn't there, so it's not no church violation of church and state. He said, if you don't know how to vote, vote Democrat. Write down a thing. That was gospel to me. That was gospel. I heard it like I heard the scripture. And it was like, oh, okay, that's right. Bishop is, now I have to reconcile that I think Bishop was wrong. There's no reason to vote for Democrats in no circumstance. They have never been a party of the people. The Republicans have been a party of the people, and the people who want to overthrow the Republicans are the Democrats. The people, the empowerment of the people comes from the Republican Party, in my opinion, the Republican ideology. And the people who want to overthrow them because they want to take power over the people, their goal is to overthrow the Republicans, are the Democrats. The Democrats don't have value. They don't have value. They are just here to take power from the people and get rid of the Republican Party. They're detractors. They don't have a purpose. They spend their time detracting, and they've been on the wrong side of history ever since the inception of the Democrat Party. They may pass legislation here or there that may seem good, may have some positive effects, but the purpose behind it has nothing to do with you, has everything to do with this accomplishment, a foresight, or achievable goal in order to get closer to socialism and for order the government to have power over the people. Bigger government, all of that. That's what the Democrats have been historically, in my opinion. Jim Crow laws came for Democrats. There was no reason to have Jim Crow laws. No reason. But the Democrats wanted it. Anyway, I think I beat a dead horse. I give you 30 minutes of my honest opinion about this whole dilemma of why black people hate me. I wish I made a shortened version. You can actually go to my new channel called Tatum Clips. We'll put some shortened clips of this on Tatum Clips and go from there. But that's just my synopsis of why I think black people really hate me and why they just despise me to a certain degree. And it's not for any real reason other than I was once you, and you got to come out of that for you to see the truth. But anyway, man, I love you guys. I appreciate you. I'll see y'all in the next one. I'm out.